The men were definitely angry, but the loudest voices telling MAGA to fuck off last night belonged to young women.
Bitches get stuff done.
That's right, Tina. They do. Bitches did the damn thing on election night 2025, and MAGA is freaking out. Their immediate response? Repeal the 19th Amendment.
Overnight, a Democratic sweep in high-profile elections nationwide. In New York City, Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani capping a stunning political rise, becoming the first Muslim mayor of the nation's largest city.
Together, we will usher in a generation of change. Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
The president also a central figure in New Jersey, where Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill becomes the state's first Democratic woman governor, beating Trump-backed Jack Ciattarelli. In a race that was not as close as expected, Sherrill, a former Navy pilot and federal prosecutor, drawing parallels between her opponent and Trump throughout the race.
With this vote, you guys just scream from the rooftops.
In Virginia, Democrat and former CIA officer Abigail Spanberger making history as the state's first woman to be elected governor. Spanberger focusing on the economy while promising to stand up to President Trump's moves to slash the federal workforce.
In 2025, Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship.
President Trump trying to distance himself from the election results, posting overnight Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the 2 reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters.
The gender gap among Gen Z voters aged 18 to 29-ish is huge. Look at these numbers. In the New York mayoral race, Mamdani got 81% of young women, but 64% of young men. Spanberger got 78% of young women and 56% of young men in Virginia's gubernatorial race. And in New Jersey's race for governor, 80% of young women went for Sherrill, while only 54% of young men did the same. But thank goodness that MAGA is so logical and calm, and their love for women just shines through in everything they do. Although MAGA is taken aback by Tuesday night's results, they're determined to win back women, and they're really gonna sit down and figure out the best way to address the issues women care about most. Not. They're just throwing Twitter tantrums, screaming, repeal the 19th. Eventually, you'll agree with us that it's time to repeal the 19th Amendment. This is the most important, most dire, most dangerous thing in the country right now. Suicidal empathy of young women. The Democratic Party has preyed upon their feelings. Young women are ruining our country. Where are their fathers? They failed epically. If there was ever proof the 19th Amendment was a mistake, they're driven by emotion, not logic and reason. Suicidal empathy, a whole generation brought up to believe their feelings are more real than facts. And not only do they want to take away our right to vote, they also want to limit our access to education, with this dude tweeting that women have become more liberal and left-leaning, and he blames college indoctrination. Suicidal empathy is a fun new addition to MAGA's vocabulary. It's a criticism they levy at anyone who believes that human beings deserve food and shelter and education and medical care. According to MAGA, caring about people is suicidal empathy. And that belief is rooted in Christian nationalism, y'all. And I promise I'm not gonna go too far down this rabbit hole. Of course, I could for hours, but this concept that empathy is something toxic, that empathy is something that liberals and leftists feel, is pervasive in the alt-right Christian evangelical culture. And it gained even more popularity in recent years with the book Toxic Empathy being released. According to these people, empathy is weakness. Caring is weakness, and they apply that belief to women, and it enforces their stupid trope that women are too emotional to make logical decisions. The idea that women are emotional but men are not, that's always been bullshit. Men have just been really good at defining things like crying as emotional, but when a man punches his hand through the wall because his football team lost, that's not emotional. I have never understood why a wealthy man can say, well, I'm picking the candidate based upon who's going to give me the best tax incentive. And that's considered a really firm, logical choice. But if I were to say, I'm going to vote for the candidate based on who's going to maintain access to birth control or childcare, and that is immediately dismissed as a niche, emotional women's issue. The marketing success of convincing Americans that women's issues are niche when women make up half of the population is really something that should be studied because it defies reality. The reality is women are the economy. That's why they vote on the economy. Women make most of the financial decisions for their households in the United States, with 2/3 of women reporting they are the primary financial decision maker within their home. The vast majority of voters were most concerned about the economy and cost of living when they cast their ballot this year. Women are voting on the economy because they are the economy. And the gender gap here in voting, especially among Gen Z voters, has become much more pronounced in recent years. Really, Tuesday night's results should not be that much of a surprise.
Where this gets interesting, though, is I keep saying Gen Z more Trump hostile, more anti-Trump. Yeah. There's really part of Gen Z that's powering this and part that isn't, and it has to do with gender. We talk about gender gaps, but look at this, Kristen. Among men in Gen Z, 45-55, Trump's approval rating. That's what we saw with everybody. Among women, that's where he falls off the cliff.
And of course, the gender gap was so significant in the 2024 election, continues to be an important factor.
And we looked in 24, a lot of folks thought it might be bigger, and it wasn't in the older generations, it was here. And this is what really stands out. It's Gen Z, this side of the gender gap. Women, Gen Z, much more progressive, much more liberal. We're going to see this on issue after issue than any other group, any generation. So again, looking at Trump's approval rating, this is the percentage of people who approve of his job. And again, look, it's so consistent. Men across these generations, women, it's in the 4. Look how much that stands out right there. And this extends to some personality, some issues. Just again, look at this. Do you have a favorable view of the Republican Party? All adults, 44. Gen Z men, it's the same. Look, it falls off a cliff with Gen Z women, totally different than every other group. Trump's handling of DEI, we asked about. Again, similar, totally different. Gen Z women, favorable view of Musk. Again, you see it right there. And 2 more, Kristen. Do you agree there are 2 genders? Big drop off for Gen Z women. And how about this question? Just about basic attitudes about, are you proud to be an American? Are you only a little or not at all proud? 22% of all adults say that. 22% of Gen Z men, almost double Gen Z women. That is what's powering the liberalism you see among Gen Z.
But don't worry, MAGA. Mike Johnson says there's nothing to worry about in 2026.
There's no surprises. What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming. And no one should read too much into last night's election results. Off-year elections are not indicative of what's to come. That's what history teaches us.
So sounds like MAGA just gonna keep doing the same thing, being super racist, ignoring the needs of their voters, focusing solely on the desires of themselves and their wealthy benefactors. Okay, MAGA, you can keep doing the same thing. We're gonna make you pay the price in 2026. Wowzers, we have got one hell of a year ahead of us, so make sure you subscribe to Really American so you don't miss a moment. And share this video with someone in your life so we can keep the conversation going. For Really American Media, I am Corinne Straight. Thanks so much for watching. I will see y'all next time.